Honestly, only done that.
So we're maybe in March. I think March, the new committee is put in place.
No, the new committee probably be put in place for April, so they'll hold a March meeting.
They know for the month
Yeah,
before the April, because it's not even scheduled, right?
correct. Yeah.
No, I'm very. I like your representing. Yes, of course. There's a lot of discussion about little city fire based on the use. Oh, Mike and I like to. I was over here, this is the right things to you. I mean, over here, I moved. Yeah. Jim took like coffee.
Yeah, he said he wants you to help him here every time we say.
Usually Flash would be the answer.
Andrew, right there, you've got the February, no, the December or something minutes because we need them signed.
Oh, okay, and I'm really bad at the nonsense.
Well, no, it's me too, because I always forget to ask when we start here. So you have those to sign, and then the last one with all your changes are to sign.
The red line,
Yeah,
okay. I don't know if anyone had a chance to read the red line version.
Yes.
Okay, and I know actually, I guess first we can do the verify the quorum all here. Except for Bill, but that's okay.
Bill's not coming tonight.
I didn't know that. So let's call it order, and then 100% of the meeting been properly noticed. Wonderful, and then do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Make the motion.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, cool. And then, so approval of the minutes from the last meeting on February 7th. I had sent through, and I apologize because I said I was going to do it sooner, but I sent through today a line version that had just a few more details added in. So I'll just give everyone a moment if they haven't already to kind of read through that, and then we can, make sure that we're good before we vote. Okay.
I've got a chance to.
Maybe it's this one. Because you were in person. Okay, yeah, so when we approved the minutes,
I can make that change.
yeah, we'll approve of that change. I thought I had fixed that to say it was in person, but I guess not, sorry. So, has everyone had a chance to read through?
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting as adjusted and with that other change to make Jim and Frank committee members.
Yes.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Okay. So then the next topic would be owner comments. Eric, oh, anybody on the TV?
Just me.
His brothers are joining, so no. So then the first topic would be the January planning committee.
So I filled out your handy dandy form.
Thank you for doing that. Yeah.
I adjusted it just a tad bit. You probably won't even realize it, but, so it's actually a pretty easy lift. Move that completed.
Great. Hopefully it wasn't a big lift to get it into this format.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Good.
Mm-mm. No, I did a couple tricks, so it was fine. So as you guys know, we ended up with a $38,000 surplus. Starting the year out very nicely. The only thing that was really on there that I wish we caught was the December extermination bill. Didn't catch that one in December. But otherwise, the income was really good, the expenses were really good. So the water, they were giving us some invoices that said past due, and then they were giving some with some very large credits. So we were really confused with what was going on, because the way they present their invoices, if you will, it's not a traditional invoice. Like this is your service address and pay this amount. So Cindy, who was very who's very well versed on it, she did a deep dive for us and realized that we actually had overpaid in 2023. And the water company did their adjustments to move the payments around that we were doing so that we get to observe that credit in January, but we should be fine moving forward. Yeah, we use like this handy dandy spreadsheet and the calculations were messed up.
The calculations are now locked, so they can't be played with.
Mhm.
Because we were on a seesaw last year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We got stabilized.
And so Jen, which line is the exterminating line in December?
It's under your first, or it's right above your operating cost line.
Got it, okay, and this is one of the changes you said. I see. And then what does it mean on the CJC, January equals plus 6215?
Basically, just that's their year-to-date running surplus currently. So right now, their surplus is 6215.
And when you say surplus, that means they're running under their budget, so they have a surplus.
Mhm.
So if this became a negative number, that would be what we have to,
Mhm.
but theoretically, because we're over the cap, any surplus, we would get 100% of the benefit of, up to a certain.
You get whatever the percentage would be. Mhm, mhm. So if we're at 78%, you get 78% of that.
And this is very good because this addresses the item like increase in December, sort of having visibility to this on a rolling basis.
Right.
That's super helpful. And then with the office supplies, is this just sort of a timing thing? We allocate the budget to about 12 and then we order it and then it is used from, okay.
Is there anything particular in the wage payment number that was up so much?
No, I went through it all and it all looked valid. So now they do get waived. So
Yeah.
sometimes, we may have a correction February or March or something, but as far as me doing my spot, I didn't do every one of them because that's a lot. Yeah,
On the other income, you mentioned note your income from EV charging stations included.
Mhm.
mhm.
How much is that? No.
I think it was $3,200.
For how many stations are, I'm not.
No, I think it's for a quarter.
Yeah, it's not a large amount that you get.
It's like that, they're two per month.
Mm-mm.
No, there's like,
There's one at Town Hall, there's,
yeah, there's more, there's more.
yeah, and there's Town Hall, CCFC, Lakeside. And out in Island Village as well. At the clubhouse.
There's, I think that
We own all of them now.
We couldn't pay anything.
good.
There was a consent agreement with two cabinet for some miscellaneous they had.
So Jen, I just want to say thank you because it's very easy for me to get the information in this format. I know it's easy for me to say that because I made it, but hopefully it was easy for everyone too. I think it's just very clear all on one page, it's a snapshot of everything. So I think, and inevitably what happens in this situation is the accordion of like, you go really small and then, if there's anything that people feel like we want to have another line, I would say it's sort of, just one line. So you would raise gender late fees, so let's just all kind of have a running dialogue month to month. If there's something we feel should get added, but not a one-off, if we wanted to have a late fee, we would have a late fee line.
No, but I think this is what we're gonna send to resolution, right?
Exactly.
So this
Yeah.
is great. I mean, we can still look at the detail of finance committee to dive deeper, which is also pretty.
Mhm. So as we talked before, just to clarify, I'll include this, the balance sheet and all the actual versus budgets, right? Do you want both the months or just the month and the year, all of it?
But let me just take a look at this one first, if that's all right. And And so the left-hand side of this page is going to be the same as this page, because it's just 1 month in the year to date.
Correct.
And then, so essentially the full year budget column, and then the remain, it's essentially, the 8,532,000 revenue minus the 710 that's materialized so far. Okay. So this is where this is where I think, and this is fine for this month being so early in the year, but if we have like 3 or 4 months in and we have a run rate, we're running 4% below our expense, we could save 4%. If we continue to run 4% below, that would mean this applies to the full year. But I think I think when we send this to residents for the first time, we should probably just explain to them what it is and say we made an effort. Like one of our committee goals was to make financials more accessible to residents who aren't as plugged in. You know, because of that, we wanted to have a 2-page summary and basically what is on each page. But I would advocate for both of these going out if the committee agrees.
And I think the year-to-date's gonna become important, so we get here and get cycles and the periods, we saw that volatility. The year-to-date becomes a little more. And it really become important.
And I think it also helps sort of distinguish what's new news versus old news. So for example, last year, if you were looking at the month statement for December, you wouldn't see the 851 building stuff, but you would see it on the year to date. So, you know, people don't kind of get confused each time. So I think this is great. Thank you.
Did we talk about including some, balance sheet stats here, maybe just the fund balances, so they don't have to dig into the balance sheet and find it
I certainly can. I could just put like
off to the right or something,
Sure.
or a box or something, and just show balances in each one.
I could put it on the year-to-date one.
And then maybe the investments that we have too. Not all the detail, I don't know. Just how much money we have invested. Don't worry about the rates or anything else, just a lump sum number, or we have in T-bills. So people
Okay.
can see that relative to the balance sheet numbers. You want to report the rate? That might be a good idea.
Yeah.
On total on the earnings?
Yes.
I kind of think it's probably a third page. I think half of the page is, right half of the page is. Yeah, but it's still pretty that's not, you know, 273, so.
Exactly.
It's a good summary.
But you kill that,
But
you will kill that whole front section where it just talks about what the accounts are and everything else, that first 10 pages or so.
Mm-hmm.
Just kill that in the book that goes out.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, not to you, but to them, yes. You'll still get the 277 pages. Is that what you're saying?
I don't need to.
Well, that's the way it works.
well, as long as it's sort of obvious on the, I mean, even if it's just the naming, right? Like this could be the, you know, some monthly summary for resident. We'll come up with something that it's obvious it's for everybody. And then, you know, we can self-serve on the more detailed piece. I don't know that the resident, you know, I think if it's, whether it's the 2 pages with the box or a third page with the fund balances, I don't know that the residents necessarily need to see the like nitty-gritty detail for the CJC income statement unless they ask for it. And then, you know, that they could probably find the 273 pages on the website if they really had to. But we could just make it obvious with the summary word or something, what's for them.
Where do you think the residents go to find the financial statements if they want them?
They're on the finance committee page and most people just go to the board book for that month.
I figured the board book was gonna be it, so if you keep putting in the board book as we see it, with all that extraneous stuff up front and so on, it doesn't really simplify it very much. And I think that's the primary source of, I would say the same thing.
Yeah.
I've heard from people. So I think that's the one we should try to streamline, the one that's in the board book, if we want to really help the residents be literate with looking at this stuff.
So what I can do is when Donna's putting together the final packet, we'll put the summary pages up front and then we'll just do the balance sheet. And then the month and the year to date and the trail. Do you still want the trailing 12 in the board book? Okay. You want that in the board book? We'll put it in the board in your executive version of the board book and then the community board book. Okay. Cause you guys can see that and all sorts of more stuff in Serenet too. Mm-hmm.
So the intent is to reduce the community packet by 270 maybe.
Yeah.
Well, they don't get all that supporting documentation. They only get to the trailing 12. Everything after that
So theirs is probably.
is considered executive.
15 pages long, maybe?
There's no.
If they want additional information, they have to file a request to inspect records. Because that's got account information and all of that on it.
But they're going to the board book as a source of information.
Yes.
They are getting the full enchilada.
No, they're only getting up to the trailing 12. I cut it on the PDF before it's put into the,
They can't have all of it because there's accounts, there's AR is in there.
yeah.
They can't
Okay.
have all that.
So the other,
So they, I mean,
So I edit the PDF before it's entered into the master board PDF.
that's- if we were so.
If you, I mean, if you want to do a quarterly summary from the finance committee on the state of the finances and we can we can do it in the Monday Matters or just publish it however you, as a separate notification.
The level of detail we feel is mass consumable. Without people having to hunt for it, or maybe they find the wrong thing, or sometimes people think they need more than they actually do. And I just want to avoid that.
Well, for the most part, we're not hunting for it, they're just making up numbers. We're talking about being in the hole and this and that, and numbers I see all over the place, that people come up to me and say, is it true we're really running $400,000 down? They're making it up, so we need to fill that vacuum.
so after page 28 is the AP ledger and then the AR ledger, and then the bank statements. And they don't need any of that. They can't have some of it. That would be unsafe. But, so really, it's 28 pages and we're cutting that down because we don't give them. So now, but they'll still get that, but then plus this on the top, just their piece. Mhm.
I have questions on January. So then next up is the T-bills, and
That's what I printed out for you. So we have one up right now.
I'm sorry, just going back. Can I ask what the action item is on the financials then? What was the specific direction?
I think the action would be we would develop, and I'll kind of defer to you on format, whether it's a box with the fund balances and the T-bill information or a third page. We'll kind of finalize the resident summary into a 2 to 3 page packet. I'm good with this level of detail for the P and L. It kind of think the maybe it's too. And so then, that would be, one of us can just sort of pop up in one of the board meetings and say, hey, we've made this change. I think it should be communicated by the committee. And then, this would exist on top of that. Did we say 15?
28.
Yeah.
Well, we could.
Well,
we
but
could
if we're
make this in
removing the
there.
trailing 12 for the residents, it'll be probably about 15-ish pages.
We can even remove all the table of contents in the front.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then anything happening on a quarterly basis? You can decide that.
I think we decide that later, whether it's a quarterly push or not. Because we may get feedback on it too.
We should put that on the agenda and carry it over to next year, because whether we do a summary on a quarterly basis or not is.
I mean, you can, but you're also now including a year-to-date here, which will have comments.
Yeah, I'm thinking more of a qualitative, just to give a state of the union.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, as opposed to just bullet points on the couple paragraphs. And the state of the union,
Mhm.
any other thing that Lauren wants to include or whatever, from the financial perspective.
So Jen, could you just kind of walk us through how this page works?
It's basically just informative, just to give you at a glance of all 3 funds, the total of what those funds are and what makes up that particular fund. Operating is pretty, those are your 6 accounts and that's the total of all of them as far as cash. So with the investment piece, I try to include the details of the T-bill, the the rate that you're getting, the maturity date. And then this is what we get on the reports, which is part of your 277 pages, the market value and the unrealized gain until it's due. So the one that's up right now is the February 22nd in the replacement fund for 256.
So is it possible to add you have a subtotal under the 1,024,288. Could we have a subtotal under all of these columns so that, because I think the total of the unrealized gain or loss column would be how much we've earned so far.
You want a total there? Sure.
Yeah, I think on the investment amount, the market value and the estimated value.
Mhm.
We've already moved some already.
The one that was already renewed when the last time we talked about this was the February one under the capital fund. So,
Did that get done for 12 months or we still?
no, that one was already done at 9 when we talked last time.
Not nice for T-bills, but I think unless you roll over for the same term, we're going to have to liquidate to get a new bill. Right?
He did not mention that. He just gave me the 2 rates for 9 months versus 12 is what I asked.
Check with the truest. A broker's truest, right? We're doing.
Mhm. Truest.
Yeah, so
What difference would that make? How,
because it's not the same bill, it's a different term, so it can't just be a rollover. I think they've got to be liquidated and the new one has to be issued.
oh, yes, you're right. Yes, that's
So
correct.
That's the.
Yes. Mhm.
So Jen, what's the status of the first one under the replacement fund with the February 22nd maturity? Is that just cash now?
Yep.
Okay, so
Mhm. So he's waiting for me to tell him 9 or 12 months at 4.8 or 4.8.
but it's in the investment section. Is that just,
That's because this was the January 31 report.
okay, got it.
So when I do the February one, I will update based on what's happening right now.
I hear you, okay.
So that unrealized amount.
Mhm. The unrealized amount will become a realized amount. And, mhm.
What get too hung up on 10 or 15 basis points or 9 basis points?
I'm not getting hung up on it anymore at all because you guys are now directing me what to do.
We can chase that, but the idea is that we get 12-month maturity because rates are going to start to crash here before too long. So we want to have as much tail on these as we can. We can enjoy some higher rates for a longer period of time so we can lag the market. That's what we're trying to do here. I promote going 24 months or further, but I don't think the risk tolerance is there for that, so we should just stay where we are. But that way, everything's in 12 months, so that's where we're gonna pick up the money on the backside of this. Versus getting 0.07 at CIT,
0.5.
right? 0.07.
0.07,
So,
0.5. Oh, the operating is 0.5, the replacement is 0.7.
and so then we should discuss this one and we should discuss the one that comes on March 7th. Because I think the goal of this being a recurring, like standing finance committee agenda item is we would make a recommendation every time. So I think our recommendation here would be for this to be removed for 12 months and then the same thing for the maturity that comes on April 7th, or sorry, March 7th. Under the capital fund. And then in our next meeting, we would look at the ones that are coming due in May. So I'll make a motion to recommend to the board that these both be renewed on a 12-month term. All in favor?
Discussion.
Discussion?
I thought at the last meeting we gave direction to the board and we wanted them all to be for 12 months.
Yeah, you did. And the board voted and approved that at their last board meeting.
There.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And then we don't have to recommend anything unless we want to.
Correct.
That's the default position, I think.
But you do need to put it as a standing agenda, make sure that.
Yeah, just reaffirm it.
Okay, so I think we're officially reaffirming the guidance that we gave last time. Okay. And then I have no concerns with this other than, we have to figure out the format to include in the 3-page, but I think this is helpful. Thank you.
While this is, sorry, in front of us, the Regions accounts, I know we talked about closing those accounts. So it came to my attention that we use the Regions card because that's the only way to pay for the, our liquor license because it's a MasterCard / Visa. They don't accept Amex. So we're working with CIT to issue us a MasterCard or Visa under theirs. So then we can fully close out this account. So that's the delay there. But I need the board to take action so I can open that account and then do that.
Should we all, we're all that, who's home?
It is sold to residents at events. That's the only reason we get liquor licenses.
There is another topic. I mean, there, these aren't showing up. Can that be created as a section on
What is that?
the, with you? I'll go back and look at it.
It was, I'm just toward, for this theme partner name.
Yes. That.
It's not going to happen. Do you want me to put it on there anyway?
I mean, we really asked for it, but yeah,
Okay.
I think that could.
I expect the action was on you specifically, but Jen, I think Stacy kind of owed us the update on that.
I thought she gave it to you. No? Okay, we'll follow it.
I think her update is that there would be hurdles. I think we just asked for them to be explored. I'll say this, I don't know that I'm as passionate about it now as I was then, because I think it's working well with CIT and I feel better about CIT than I did about Pac West. But I think, from like a process standpoint, something that goes on as a standing agenda item should be a standing agenda item. So I think we can just split it, right? Like there'll be sort of, right, it can just be, like how this is number 7, there can be a number 8 for standing agenda.
Is there any update on the check scanner?
It works.
It worked.
It works.
What about the EIN numbers or whatever?
They have solved that problem. They added a digit or something, and so now it's just opening them all up.
So they expanded the field and did that, that's a brand new.
No,
No,
CIP.
CIT.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, so we're back on track.
No issues now with interaction with the banks or brand matters or anything else.
That's what I'm being told. Yep, it's just a matter of opening all 30 something accounts now.
Off the top of your head, how much money do we have at CIT right now?
Oh, I don't know.
Yes, what,
I don't know.
is it material? Can you ask me that, is it material?
You mean how much we have at CIT or how much we have at Pac West?
Oh,
Pac West is a little less than $100,000.
not a problem. What about CIT?
CIT. Right now, I want to say 250
Not that.
in the operating.
Wait, we had 678,000 in CAT at the end of January.
We paid some bills.
Well, we did, I would probably have a lot of collections in January. Yeah, CIS has a January.
Now I'll log on and look. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. A lot of people pay ahead though. Well, the ACH would be in there.
Mhm.
Let's see.
And CIT operating 638, CIT.
CIT at the end of December was 138,000, that maybe is only after that, a lot of people pay that, 138 at the end of December.
I'm loading right now.
I requested a Truist update from Stacy, so we'll see.
Anything else on top of the?
CIT is 230. That was close. Let's see what's in.
Not to beat to death, but
Well, I was say this balance is also January when we did have all this collection because we pay quarterly. So now we're gonna pay it down and then we'll have another big jump in April.
Got it. Okay.
projected date for closing Pac West or time frame.
I'm still gonna shoot for the end of March, but we're getting it open and ready, but then I have to work with the operations team here to tell the homeowners how to make their payments.
But should we be doing that like all on a constant basis?
I don't have the information yet.
I
gotta
can't,
have-
I can't tell them where they need to start sending it to
We have
without the lockbox number
Right.
or anything like that.
That's that whole.
That was,
Yeah.
we needed all that to get the bank accounts, and then we'll get the lockbox, and then we can start educating them.
Section, so it's, I mean,
Mhm.
Mhm.
So next would be the procurement RFP review. And this was the topic of my previous, I think that had to be the last time. I think we only really got to it for maybe 2 to 3 minutes at the end. But Lauren, maybe we could just kind of start with you kind of giving us a little bit of an overview again of the different big things that are in the pipeline, and then we could kind of talk RFP.
Let's see, Gallagher is in the implementation phase. Let's see what's going on. CCFC RFP was issued. The playground RFP was issued. What else? We are in the process of developing an RFP for dog park agility equipment at the request of the dog park committee. We are looking for engineers to rep and oversee the pool redos at North Village, Lakeside, and Spring Park.
is that the next?
The pool decks. The water tower RFP, I know it's not a Crow, it's a CJC project, but that RFP is out. It's being repped by Karen's Engineering. What else? Those are the large ones right now. Think of the new key can replacement system,
The vendor.
Viking Securities. Viking Securities.
Was the RFP for town hall?
No, it was not asked to be on the agenda, the February agenda.
So, and I mean no disrespect to the dogs, and for the dog park committee, I know they work very hard. Like, one of the things that we've talked in our committee before is that we spend a lot of money on the dog park and we don't really have a whole lot of utilization. So I'd love to know, and again, this may just be me for not going to the dog park meeting and knowing what's going on, before an RFP gets rolling and all of that, is there any kind of like, how does the needs assessment work? And, you know, is there any kind of like, how many dogs use the agility training equipment before? Because there's sort of organizational effort that goes into doing any of this work.
Those are valid questions. I'm speaking, I'll still speak as liaison with them. I believe they're using their privately raised funds for. Now, that doesn't cover the cost of the RFP and all that, so there is still room for discussion there, but I do not believe that would be from funds.
Depending on how large they're wanting to go, they have about $18,000 in their account. That's just dog park money. But yeah. So I think I think as part of we've rewritten our whole process in terms of project management and RFPs, vendor management, all that. I think that should probably be a point of discussion at the new board level in terms of triaging all of these requests for things. I mean, I know the master plan advisory group is doing that, but we have other random projects that get thrown out there as well. Like, what's the approval process from the board perspective of, yes, spend management time on that?
Yes, and that's something that is not clear
Mhm.
and does need to be, because
Because everybody has their special pet project and then management spends time here, 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 and here, and then,
We heard a new one, new to me, the East Lawn shade structure that Celia promoted at the last meeting. I've never heard that before, and all of a sudden, that one looks like it's gonna be on the radar screen.
yes, that one too. I have not started that one, I will be honest.
Because there's a call for it.
there is a call for it, yes.
And that's a ongoing process of the thing. Any emotional request.
That was all. You saw everything.
I don't.
Yeah.
So but that's the concern of me. You know, any organization has that capital planning and structure, the approval and justification, needs assessment, right? I mean, everybody, we had to do the, what I call it, the see thunder, hear lightning test. And if you could do that, then you can maybe get some capital. But when I was in a public company, we had $800 million, almost $1 billion capital budget on an annual basis.
Yeah.
So I mean, we had a lot of stuff to watch. But this has gotten to get a lot better real quick because the saga with the truck, you know, it's not even that small and that easy. And we just try and get it done. The material's not there. I still don't know how many miles that truck has on it. You know yet?
116,000.
Thanks.
I think that some of this has to happen at the board level as to what dollar amounts things need to fall in different categories. And that could be a recommendation of this group. And then also to the other point, the master plan advisory group is supposed to make a committee that is driving the boards where to spend based on all this stuff that we're learning. So that committee will help with, okay, we're spending $250,000 this year. Here's what it needs to be spent on based on the continued analysis and historical analysis.
So that group would do a little bit of gatekeeping, but then,
Prioritization, I think.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still got to be approved.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
That would be a hard fight to go against that, but, and because that's what this is about. Otherwise, it's just what pet project it is.
Yeah, and I think if that committee is there, to your point, there should be certain things for the finance committee to look over before they get approved and for that master planning and for finance to work with master planning to understand what kind of projects they are moving forward with.
As part of master planning, doing the prioritization, there's an economic process that's got to be brought into that on a parallel basis. Right? Don't feel or see that happening yet. Right? And maybe a little early, but it's never too early to get involved with it.
On the master planning. committee,
Yeah,
Yeah, because we are too early, because until we get what the priorities are going to be. But to your point, that's why I'm on the committee, is we can't just say we're going to go do a community building without knowing what the estimated cost is, especially when we're fixing town hall. We're going to probably resod soccer fields. We got to change out the playground equipment. And the park, I mean, so you got all these dollars that are out there. So the committee the master planning committee can only put out something that's gonna happen in 3 to 5 years.
but that's where I think I made the comment in about capacity. We need to look at capacity of the organization. And if we're going to really put together a master plan that transforms the community, we're gonna have to look at that. And we're gonna start talking about what kind of debt that is, what kind of tolerance we have for that debt, how the community needs to approve it, and all those type of things. If you don't start on that stuff now and get that structure in place in that process, you're gonna say, okay, here's the prioritization we want. Now let's go see how much we can spend. We're gonna go to the balance sheet, just while we have it. I'm just gonna sit on their hands.
Which is why there is a CCD meeting tomorrow night.
I
A
know.
lot of the master planning people are going to be there because they are going out and doing their own master. And they want to go pay money to a third party to do it while the master planning committee is already doing all that. Because communication between CROA and CCD is almost non-existent.
That's a whole other problem. Yes, I read the board book and I'll be there tomorrow night. You can have 4 companies presented tomorrow night. 4.
That is a whole other problem. And we're in the middle of this, like the playground thing could have gone differently if it came here first. There are a lot of things that should have come here first that didn't, and that's not fixing immediately, but I think it will soon with the master plan committee being formed out of this group. So what's, I mean, the immediate solution, there is none.
I mean, I think overarchingly, the board needs to set their own protocol on where they want projects to start from and then what approval process you want to go through, because I don't see that there has been that structure in the past. Even pre-GM, it was just, this is my pet project and we're pushing it through and let's get this done.
So then can we request a workshop with finance and the board to establish where projects originate from and what the checks and balances of that are?
Yeah,
It
certainly.
shouldn't just be the board saying this is what we're gonna do.
Yeah, I mean, you should, I mean, ideally, it would ping whatever committees would have us, it would impact. Most of the time, it would be the finance committee would have an input. I mean, for the dog park agility equipment, it would be the dog park that have adding things. It could be Parks and Rec, it could, yeah. Mhm.
So yeah, we should do that workshop in March. If that's what you guys think that we should. do. From a board perspective, I think we should.
Yeah, I mean, I think ideas can originate in a number of places. They just have to be, filtered to some consolidated place. And whether it's MPAG, whether it's some committee, combination of board and finance, whatever it is. I just think there has to be a structure around this, especially as you've got more needs to look. So,
And finance should be.
I've seen other finance committees have liaisons with all the committees. Every, the finance committee rep, or somebody from the finance committee, on the other committee, so they don't sort of liaisons with the other committee, so that finance committees are aware of what's going on. I mean, otherwise, you're gonna
Oh, that's another solution, I mean, to integrate more. I'm talking about it in terms of trying to marry up this finance committee with the master plan group and get that operational now, not later, not till everything's on the table and then we gotta go and start to wade through it. If we have some structure, some stats, some function, we could be a lot more productive on a concurrent basis than trying to do it afterwards.
There's a meeting on Thursday night and we can discuss doing a joint meeting between master plan.
And
That's
I'm
fine.
going to be at that meeting.
Yeah.
But I think the bigger issue for us to solve now as a community, not necessarily this committee, is the fragmentation we have of the CDD and the CROA organization. We've got one group doing the master plan internally with, with, I was saying employees, residents, volunteers. And we've got another group that's hiring professionals. I mean, renowned organizations are gonna be formed. And they're just gonna plow ahead. They're gonna decide where they're gonna put stuff. Now, as I say that,
But they're not actually going to do it until it passes a vote of the community, the same constituents.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
and I spent a little time with Gary bouncing back and forth. The thing to take on debt in the community, it takes a 10% vote of the eligible households. And that's a simple majority. So I thought it was a much higher threshold based on some past discussions when we were looking at the steps of building, but it's a very low threshold. So take on debt is not that big of a deal, just from a pure voting standpoint. It depends on what the climate is and everything else. But then, full disclosure, I'm to say this, Kroll is not gonna be able to go on the public market and get debt. It's just not gonna happen, because we don't have the collateral. We can't do it. But CDD can put out a bond and sell it based on the income stream that they will get off the tax rolls. And the collateral for that is a lien on your house. Because if you don't pay that, there's a lien there. So there's a real slick financing mechanism with CDD. So I'm telling you, the Kroll can't work without the CDD facility or ability to do the financing. Or we can just go with what we have, pay as you go, and look at the 4 or 5 million we have in the capital structure, and that's it. Gary's raising his hand over there.
I might suggest in a generic way, not specific, that you were talking about, Mike. You do have a written capability in the bylaws when the finance committee is started. It may sound very generic, but you can turn it around and drive the process. So in the bylaws, under finance committee, you have 4 different responsibilities. That's what it says. One of them is develop the annual budget, monitor those, recruit, communicate with the auditor. But here's one we can use. Develop reports, recommend policies. That sounds very generic, but what you can do is write a very tight policy for the board. And you'll do the work for them. If you don't do that, you'll let the board write its own policy and it'll be scatterbrained. But if you put your heads together and write your own policy and say, in accordance with the bylaws, we are recommending this because we have a charter to do that, but make it airtight and then push it.
Agreed, but I'm gonna say it again. I think that's all stuff downstream, and that's all organizational process when we get there. But I think we have this split right now, and if we don't bring that back together in some fashion, I think we've got a huge problem. How does that look to the community with two master plans being worked on at the same time? Remember, only one has the facilities to finance it beyond what we have on the balance sheet.
No, I can tell you, if the master plan committee knew that they were doing that, my guess is we probably would have all walked away. Because they're already doing that. What good is there to have a master plan committee?
Well, they know you're doing it now because it's in the CDD, board pack. It's on the agenda. Exactly.
One of their members was at our community meeting for master plan. And we had a very good discussion. And we basically told him how this was a big surprise to all of us, that was going on, and that they were looking basically for a community center that they're gonna finance. So if they're doing that, and they get the vote, like you said, on the debt, what else can we do?
What you're gonna do is get upset. I'll predict this. You're gonna get upset. And you're gonna start a counter campaign with the residents. And you're gonna be throwing two messages at them. They're gonna be saying, we can build this big town hall for you, and you're gonna say it's gonna cost you your life, and they're gonna leave your house and everything else. And you're gonna have turmoil and divisiveness.
That will happen.
Yes. I know.
That will absolutely happen.
I know this, I know. I see it's like my job is to figure out how not to have car accidents. And this is the car accident that's gonna happen.
I'm telling them, unless we can convince them tomorrow night to work with us and not hire somebody.
That would be the most ideal situation.
That's why we're going.
So you take your, why is it a problem letting them build?
But we're gonna pay for it. Because they're gonna have to, again, go get bonds. The interest payments,
Sell bonds.
and us.
Every year, non-ad valorem tax on the tax bill.
Well, somebody's got to take it. Did you have, were you guys?
The point is, the whole master planning, we put out a survey. The whole point of that is to see what the residents really want. And understand, to Mike's point, to say, hey, community center, which you have defined based upon our previous meeting, is this, and this, 3 basketball courts, 2 meeting rooms, whatever. That will cost anywhere from $9 to $11 million,
Which we don't have.
right? And so you put that out there, and how many residents are gonna vote for that then? If they know they've got, we're gonna spend 90. That's what we have to see. If residents really want it, and they say yes, then CBD can do what they want.
Well, I think the larger piece too, and to Mike's point, is it's the time to come together because CDD has the mechanism to generate the funds, but they don't have any property that's really buildable on. CROA has the property to build on. So rather than CDD trying to purchase something like that field in front of the school district, there's a partnership angle there that could be explored if people were willing.
There's a communication problem. So that, you know, I remember back about 4 or 5 months ago, 6 months ago, I got up at a CDD meeting and started railing at them Well, reaching out and all that, and you had that meeting, they came to that one meeting. And their opinion now is that, and I'm in the middle, I get it from both sides. Their opinion now is that there's been no follow-up communication, it's just gone silent since that joint meeting. So they're doing their own thing. They're on. That's where their heads are.
I mean, that's true. That was the majority opinion of the board. That is not the complete opinion. That was the majority.
That's not what we're talking
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say a CBD is blameless and just powering ahead and just doing what they want to do because it's the same constituents and the same finance we're talking about. So like, that's not also the great direction either, but.
People don't understand that, but because the way you hear some people talk, it's like, oh, CD's gonna pay for it, like, as if it's.
Right. As in, the money comes from free lunch. Right.
And I think that has to be what comes out, I'm assuming that's probably part of the communication plan tomorrow, it's just, it's not a magical pot of money.
I think the biggest concern that I'm hearing, I know the biggest concern I'm hearing is that the difference here is a private facility versus a public facility, and that's something that needs addressed. Because at that meeting 6 months ago.
Yeah.
This building they want to build on the lot next to the school is partially for the school to use during the day, which means nobody can use that building during certain times of the day. And then sometimes it's for CROA, but it's also open to the public, to the county to look at. So that's a whole other thing, and that's the thing I'm hearing complaints about is if it's a CROA facility, it's like the pools. The pools are ours and only we can use the pools. If we open it up to the public, what does that mean? And that's the question I think that needs to be answered. I don't know the answer to that.
No, I didn't hear the part about the schools. I don't think I've ever heard that. But the part about being a public building available to the, because it's tax money.
Yeah.
Available to the county.
Yeah.
That's a necessary thing. And I think I've learned from you that that's done in quite a few areas.
Reunion has done that. So
Successfully.
their CDD has built a gym, a dog park, a pool, and something else. And residents that own in Reunion get to utilize those facilities for free. Non-Reunion residents that are also, but that are in that area can utilize them for an annual fee. I think it was around $1,800 for the year.
But they get very low participation outside the residence, is that correct?
Yes.
I think there is that split, but I think the reality of the situation is you can meet the requirement, the state requirement for the use of the building, providing the use for the rest of the residents, but it's in factuality, it's not a big deal.
The way I heard this thing with the school is because they own that land. And if they could make a deal with them where there were 2 basketball courts that would be segregated during the school day, that the school could use those basketball courts. But maybe some of the other, rest of the building can still be used by the residents or partner groups or whatever. That if the school would give us that land, that's the way to kind of deal.
I just don't even know how that works.
I'll ask Greg that question tomorrow night when I see him. When I pull off the side, I'll ask him, because I've not heard that from him, but I'll find out.
Yeah.
But the district is obviously capped 4. And they just broke ground for a new elementary in K-8. And they're selling off surplus land. I know that they donated in St. Cloud, they donated a small building, a little piece of land for Boys and Girls Club there. Involved with the company. So I know they just did that, so they're cleaning up some assets in themselves. Andrew Gary James and stuff.
Okay, pardon me. Yeah.
Gary, do you want to just sit with us?
No, thank you. To correlate with what Jim said, I don't think it would be the school, state of Florida, the United States would allow us to have the school kids and residents use a facility that's open, intermingled because of security issues.
Mhm.
So it would be confined to the school if that's true, and we wouldn't be able to commingle on the court or a separate court unless there was a wall and a locked door between.
Right, and I think that's what that's what we're talking about, is having locked doors that would be unprotected.
Yeah.
And then we bring sure.
Just a consideration.
I agree with that analysis. That's just an analysis stated. is,
Oh, no, but that's gonna happen, you know,
yes,
given.
you cannot allow the public access to any, even a door wouldn't work because you can't,
Right.
you have to keep the school separate. Like an active shooter situation, what does that look like when half the building's a public building? Where's the liability there? That's a whole other thing. But that was just one of the topics. I think there's discussion on Lot D. Do the move site there. I don't know, I guess we'll find out on tomorrow.
Yeah.
I've heard that everybody that's checked has said they don't want anything on Lot D like that. Because it's not accessible, kids can't go to it, can't ride their bikes to it, the whole thing. People want to be in a community center type location, so
Yeah.
people can walk to it, everything else. And the one piece of property that's available for that is right there. And that's it. And it comes on to class of one.
And that requires cooperation on both parts because the current 851 needs to be a parking lot for that building.
Yeah, and I think the current 851 should be torn down and it should be one building that's 30,000 square feet and call it a day.
I agree with that as well. I think the problem is who's using that building and how's it getting paid for? And who owns the land and everything that goes around with making that.
There's some wrinkles.
Yeah.
That's the end state we'd like to have. That's the position, but yeah, there's some wrinkles to get there. And CDD has to have a presence in it because they fund it, so they can't just issue a bond and walk away from it. They've got to have activity, in it, a certain level of activity.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a percentage threshold, I think.
Yeah,
We talked about that
we
before.
look at steps of
Where they have to be occupied.
Yeah, well, when we first talked about it, this was back when Brian Kenzel was still president. We were talking to them about possibly sharing space in the physical CDD building and expanding that and moving
Yeah.
town hall out there. And I think conversation kind of stopped because they said there was a certain percentage threshold that they needed to control for it to be a CDD owned building.
Granted, that we're talking about steps, and the idea then was that they come and join in the building, vacate their office there. That would still be their yard for the repair people and everything, and then Kroll could move their people out there too, from the
Mhm.
yard standpoint, you center everything out there. I'm on D. Then the other thing was to build a storage facility alongside it, on lot B, actually. And, then you free up all the space, you've got storage right now in the building. Build a new building and use it for activity, not for storage.
Happy is a storage unit if you use it at the right time of day.
Probably fill up this room with just storage stuff.
Yeah. I don't even know how to take notes on what we.
Well, I guess we'll see how it goes tomorrow night. I think first step is to bring it back together. We've got to get it back together. And who's gonna be in the front seat driving, you know, and who's gonna be fighting over the steering wheel? You're gonna have to figure out some kind of solution there.
Well, there was a joint meeting proposed again with the boards. Was that last week or the week before?
The week before, we're also in this thing where we can't do anything this week anyway.
Yeah, we kind of have to wait till Friday.
But I'll propose that meeting, sure.
They haven't signed anything yet. The contracts are in the documents, in the board documents, but all the pricing is blacked out. But there's some pretty extensive, cost.
Sure, to do that level of stuff, which this group is halfway through and is actually speaking to the residents on it, so. I support this. The master plan group going, I think that's a good idea to go and say, hey, where are we doing this, let's partner on this, yes.
See you there tomorrow night.
Greg supports it, but
Supports well.
us working with them. And not, well, now,
Where's the problem then?
he's not going to.
No, but what's the development spec committee is not in favor of that. I know their perception is they're frustrated, but okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, I don't know. I expect them to vote on something that we do tomorrow.
Or they table it and
Yeah, that would be.
And they're gonna be locked up as presentations, I'm getting 4 presentations in the middle of the agenda. It's gonna.
Well, good. By the time the presentations are done, we'll know who the new board is and we'll know what we'll be able to do.
Okay.
Are there any other topics anyone would like to add?
Pretty good for me. I don't even know what to write. Figure that out. Is there, going back to what we were saying. We do need to establish a joint meeting between the board and the finance committee to figure out spending thresholds and like what should go through where.
Capital management.
Yes, capital.
Capital management.
And hopefully, I think the organizational meeting described it, right? Maybe that could be kind of like a recommended thing that everybody agrees on in that meeting, that it's a priority.
Yeah, that'll be no problem. And I know two people can call that meeting at the very least, but I think everybody would agree to that. And then also the master plan group and the finance committee needs to meet.
Let's start wrapping up the end, financing and what capacity is and.
Yes.
You just want emails on these?
Yes, please. I can't take notes on my laptop, otherwise everybody can see what I'm doing.
Can't even think.
You
Well, I
saw,
don't.
you saw the capital flow and capital accumulation that I sent out, so.
Yeah.
I just updated that up on the side, it's pretty much exactly where it is, so that's what your run rate's gonna be, and that's what it's gonna be. We do have an extra 433,000 that's going in this year, but beyond that. And those out years, it's budgeted, those 2 out years for the budget to have 50% of the index for no apartment fees. We put that back to 50% and we're at 30%.
You're at 30%, yeah,
You're 30% now for 24.
yeah.
Yeah. That's the way it's shown there,
Mm-hmm.
the actual numbers, but then it goes back to 50% in those out years.
That's the way I projected it, just based on the conversations that were had, and I didn't hear any negative feedback about it. So,
One other point. Last meeting, we said we wanted to have a joint. The arms.
so the existing board has put that on the incoming board, so it's on the organizational agenda, or if it's not, I will add it to set some proposed dates for that meeting.
Can we send
Yeah.
Yes.
Recommendation.
Yeah,
So yes, do that.
we'll just get some more proposed dates from the auditor and come back to you.
So, anything before committee comments?
I have one other thing to bring up. That's the results for 2023 last year and how we're gonna capture those and communicate. I think we should have some kind of summary communication to the community as how 2023 turned out from a financial standpoint. So people aren't creating their own narrative. So we want to have a very succinct and very definitive view of the.
Is there an opportunity to speak at the annual meeting on that?
For the finance committee?
Yeah.
There's a recap of in the annual presentation, there's kind of a recap of the year, but if you wanted to do kind of a state of the finances piece, we could add a slide in and just have somebody come up and talk.
When is?
Wednesday.
That's fine.
It can be very brief, but this would satisfy.
Show financials and the balances on the different accounts, and that's it, on the balance sheet, that's it.
Just tell me what you want put into the presentation so I can add it in.
I think it would be, I mean, I'm not gonna ask you to like do this for retroactively for 2023, but I think. that-
I could,
You can do it.
I could.
Too much detail.
I think it's. For the annual meeting, it would like revenue costs. So something like that. And then I think for me, it's just one of this, I loved Mike's email where it was, but for these sort of outside the normal course of business items, this is where we would have landed. I know that we've all had some different opinions on that one, but I think it's almost this is where our budget was, this is where we landed, and here's the roadmap that we got there. And I actually think it's a positive story, because if you separate out the two big ticket things, like it's actually a good management story, but the numbers actually come in fairly close on. So I think you guys should get credit for it and so should the board. So I think that would be the talking points and then the fund balances and, you know, and then I think we would recap, you know, we have this investment program, we've made this much money. That kind of thing.
That'd be a good thing to touch on, yeah, the treasury bills, yeah, that'd be a good thing.
So, I mean, and if you send me your sample, I can just do it too.
It's just a PowerPoint presentation.
Just.
Just-
Blur.
Just send me the blurb, and if you have any, like a PDF that you want put in there, then I'll, or whatever you want in there, I'll put in there.
Then that should be published Monday Matters, whatever, at some point, because we're gonna get 100 people at the annual meeting. But I think it needs to go into a couple of our broadcasts for a week or two.
So I can do, we'll put it in the presentation, which will also be posted on the board website. And then in the Monday Matters, I can do a 2023 State of the Finances. And then, you know, here's a recap from the Finance Committee and just put it in there.
What time is this meeting? Is it 5 o'clock?
It's at 6 with a cocktail hour ahead of time. It's a 2-drink maximum this year because of last year's experience.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, if you sat too close to the front, you had to be in the back of the room to see the fun.
I'm sitting in the back.
And then what's my?
5 o'clock, you're supposed to be there.
Sounds good. It's a very pro week.
Yeah.
You know.
There's a CBD meeting.
At CDD building,
What time is that?
1,800.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
6 to midnight?
Yeah, we guys at 1,800. There's nothing to read on the agenda.
Yeah, it's always 6 to 8.
Do they end the day?
No,
I didn't think so.
So committee comments, I know we're probably gonna have another meeting together, but this is the last one. You know, with the board installed as it is, I just want to thank everybody for their contributions this year. I think we made a lot of progress this year. I think it was a better year on the finance committee than the year before. And I appreciate all the time that, you know, you, Lauren and Jen have put into making this what it is, and Jerry, your time, and, you know, Gary, you and Katie and everyone else who has come to these meetings and contributed. So I just wanted to express my appreciation to everyone. Thank you.
And I'd like to express my appreciation to you for being the chairman of this committee. For sure, for me, it's nothing. Done a great job.
And I appreciate always being able to look at your eyes.
Okay, so I'm a little weird. You come. I think we messed up. That's good. Don't say that at the annual meeting. No.
That's what the average resident thinks, that we're just out of control.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah, don't listen. I think as well, I agree, I think as well, that's why I wanted to be on this committee, because. Although you guys did a lot of budget finessing this year to get it to where it is, I think a lot has happened over the last year. Definitely, so.
Was it kind of a dangerous dance right at the end? So we were stepping on toes, right at it, that's what I would say.
I think that's a good word.
Yeah. Toes were being stepped on, yeah.
So with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.